There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now. Their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, said she hated Snow White, mocked the fact that there was a prince, and that she falls in love as opposed to leaning into her own power. We could go on.
Girl, it's happening. Disney just dropped new footage from the Snow White remake, and what was supposed to be a comeback moment has turned into a total disaster. Again.
When people watched it originally in 1937 in the theaters, it was an amazing experience because for most people, it was the first color movie. But second of all, people had so connected emotionally with the character of Snow White that when she eats from the apple and she dies, people were literally weeping in the theater because they liked the character of Snow White so much.
Instead of turning the tide, the sneak peek has only intensified the backlash. The visuals, confusing. The tone, all over the place. The internet's reaction, brutal. But the spotlight isn't just on the film.
I'm a narcissist.
That she is. And by the way, the producer of Snow White, his son, knows it.
It's directly on Rachel Zegler, because allegedly the second this footage went public, Rachel emotionally broke down. And honestly, after what she saw, no one's surprised. Insiders claim she's devastated, not just because of the negative reception, she expected that, but because the final version of the movie is allegedly so far gone from what she believed in, even she doesn't recognize it anymore.
Literally no offense to anyone. They're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
Let's talk about what actually dropped. This wasn't a full trailer, it was behind-the-scenes footage, early cuts, character moments, all meant to reintroduce the film and shift the tone after months of bad PR. But the problem? It didn't work. What fans saw was a version of Snow White that felt disjointed, overproduced, and hollow. Gone was the emotional magic of the original. Instead, viewers saw something that looked and felt like a rejected Disney Plus pilot. Even people who wanted to love it are turning their backs. Social media exploded with reactions like, "This doesn't even feel like a movie. I can't tell if it's satire or real. Is this a parody? Or did Disney actually approve this?" One viewer went as far as calling it a fever dream, and another said it was like watching the last gasp of a studio trying to prove it still understands what magic is. And in the middle of all that noise, Rachel Zegler once again is at the center of the storm.
And to put 7 people with dwarfism on camera in a major Disney movie, there's still power there. If the story is offensive, change the story, don't change the character.
According to alleged insiders, Rachel was shown the footage ahead of the public release. And her reaction? Not just disappointment, shock. Sources close to the situation say Rachel was emotionally wrecked, claiming that what she saw on screen was nothing like the film she thought she made. The edits, the script rewrites, the reshoots. Allegedly, the version she saw was unrecognizable. She reportedly said things like, "This isn't the movie I believed in. They completely changed the tone. This is going to ruin me." And, worst of all, she allegedly felt blindsided. Because while Disney was scrambling to save the project, Rachel was kept in the dark, cut out of meetings, blocked from final creative input, and now stuck watching her performance sliced, restructured, and repackaged into something the internet is openly mocking. It's not just a bad edit. It's a complete loss of control.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl is ridiculous. Wow.
Here's where it gets brutal. Usually, no matter how bad things get, Disney can count on its fan base, content creators, influencers, loyalists, to show up and soften the blow. But not this time. The footage was so poorly received that even longtime Disney defenders are calling it out. People who previously praised Mulan, The Little Mermaid, even Pinocchio, are now saying they can't defend this one. Creators with millions of followers are posting reaction videos titled, "Disney's Snow White remake is worse than we thought. This just killed my childhood." Rachel Zegler deserved better, but this film is a disaster. And if the defenders are walking away, there's no one left to protect the project.
And they postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because it's their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off.
Let's be honest, Rachel Zegler's image has been dragged for months. From her press tour flops to her infamous "Not 1937 anymore" quote, she's been fighting to change the conversation. And this footage was supposed to be her redemption arc, but instead, it's allegedly left her more broken than ever. Not because she's embarrassed, but because she knows this is the final nail. Behind the scenes, she allegedly begged Disney not to release it in this form. She wanted a delay, a re-edit, anything. Instead, they pushed it live. And once again, she's the one being dragged while the studio stays silent. Insiders say she's struggling to even promote the film anymore. Her team is allegedly trying to protect her mental health, and she's pulled back from media appearances because she knows once this movie drops in full, the internet will explode again. And this time, there might not be a comeback.
Because right now there's more dwarves on this podcast than there are in the new Snow White movie.
So let's cut to the chase. This new footage isn't just bad, it's allegedly the result of last-minute reshoots, emergency edits, and internal chaos that has plagued this project from day one. And now that the footage is out and the reaction is worse than expected, the question isn't, how do we fix this? It's allegedly become, who do we blame when it crashes? And spoiler alert, it's not going to be the producers. It's not going to be the executives. It's not going to be the director. All eyes are on Rachel Zegler again.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
Let's talk about the behind-the-scenes spiral that led us here. Alleged insiders are now claiming that Disney knew for months this version of Snow White wasn't working. The early test screenings? Disastrous. The fan response to Rachel's press? Comments? Toxic, the visual tone, all over the place. So what did they do? They allegedly ordered rushed reshoots, changed the script mid-production, and brought in a separate team for the final edit, one that Rachel wasn't even consulted, on the goal to make the film more palatable to general audiences. The result? A stitched-together, soulless project that feels confused, corporate, and empty. And the worst part? They pushed forward with it anyway. They allegedly knew it was unrecoverable, but instead of delaying or scrapping the release, they decided to dump it and deal with the fallout later. And who's in the center of that fallout? You already know.
Every single white male is a piece of shit, and the woman is the hero, and all authority is bad, and all business is bad, but government is good. And most people don't know what they're watching. She, unfortunately, sort of pulled the curtain back, and people knew exactly what was going on.
Let's not forget, when this movie was first announced, Rachel Zegler's casting was the whole pitch. A fresh Gen Z Latina Snow White, a bold new take on the fairy tale, a feminist reimagining of a classic tale. That was the angle. That was the headline. But when things started going wrong, when Rachel's interviews backfired, when fans pushed back on the modern angle, when the memes started rolling in, suddenly she became the problem. Not the script, not the vision, not the production choices, her. And now, with the release of this new footage, the backlash is getting worse. And the studio allegedly staying quiet on purpose. Because if the public keeps focusing on Rachel, they don't have to explain why the most iconic fairy tale of all time was reduced to this mess in the first place. It's not just mismanagement, it's allegedly strategic deflection.
Go on.
Because of the face of a serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
Noted.
Thanks.
Insiders from the post-production side are reportedly furious, not just at the reception, but at the fact that they were rushed. Re-edits were forced, and they were expected to somehow salvage a film that had no consistent tone, story, or structure. 1. Anonymous source allegedly said, "It was chaos from the top down. We were making changes 3 weeks before this footage went out. It wasn't ready, and everyone knew it." Another reportedly added, "This isn't about the actors. This is about leadership that refused to admit they had a flop on their hands." And yet, those executives? Silent. Meanwhile, Rachel is trending, again, for all the wrong reasons. She's being blamed for the tone, the performance, the entire collapse, and Disney just letting it happen.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on their love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
So we didn't do that this time.
Here's where it gets interesting. As more details leak about reshoots, studio interference, and how radically the film changed from its original version, people are starting to question the narrative they've been fed. Maybe Rachel wasn't the problem. Maybe she was just a cog in a machine that never really knew what it was making. People are posting side-by-sides of early footage versus new edits. digging up clips from her interviews where she actually defended the vision, noticing how her voice sounds dubbed, how scenes feel restructured, how her version of the character may have been completely overwritten. It's still messy, it's still polarizing, but the tide is slowly turning because at the end of the day, everyone loves a good takedown, but they love a comeback even more. And if Rachel can prove she was set up to fail, she just might turn this entire mess into her redemption arc.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
She wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
Here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud. This version of Snow White may have never been made to win. From the very beginning, there were red flags, conflicting visions, multiple rewrites, a press tour that felt more like damage control, then promotion. And now, with the latest footage out and the public backlash reaching new heights, insiders are asking the question everyone's been avoiding. Did Disney always know this would fail? And worse, did they push it through anyway, knowing exactly who would take the hit?
And so it was like
Those people.
very much this, yes. It was
The
this
people that we
awakening
need
of-
to educate, the people that we need to love into awareness.
love them in the right direction.
Let's go back to the roots. When Rachel Zegler was cast, the announcement was met with mixed reactions. But behind the scenes, the vision for the film was already fractured. According to multiple sources, there were serious disagreements from the start between the writers, producers, and the studio itself about what this remake should even be. Some wanted a bold, modern retelling, others wanted to stay loyal to the original, and a few allegedly wanted a complete deconstruction of the princess fairy tale format. What we got? A chaotic mashup of all three. The tone reportedly shifted halfway through production, leading to rushed rewrites, reshoots, and even altered scenes, where Rachel's character was edited to seem softer, all to respond to early fan backlash. This wasn't one movie with one vision. It was 3 movies fighting to exist inside a single script. And when that happens, someone always takes the blame for the end result.
The people who you need to entertain, the people who you need to serve, the people who pay your salary.
Let's be real, Rachel didn't direct this. She didn't write the script. She didn't control the editing room. She did what actors do. She showed up, delivered what was asked, and followed the studio's lead. But when her comments went viral, when she joked about the prince, or called the original weird, Disney allegedly let the backlash snowball without stepping in. Why? Because her being the problem gave them cover. Suddenly, if the movie failed, it wasn't a studio issue. It wasn't a creative disaster. It wasn't a leadership mistake. It was her press tour, her tone, her image, and the fact that she was a young, outspoken Gen Z Latina actress only made her easier to frame as ungrateful, disrespectful, and hard to work with. She was the perfect scapegoat, whether she realized it or not.
Everyone is serving a man. It's just her going, we need to no, you don't need, it's not your job. Your job is to entertain. You are paid to entertain.
Let's talk logistics. This is Disney. If they truly believed in this project, they would have delayed it, re-edited it, waited for the public mood to shift, but instead, they did the opposite. They fast-tracked promotional materials. They dropped teaser footage at the worst possible time. They reportedly released the rough cut, knowing the internet would tear it apart. Why? Because sometimes it's easier to release a flop and move on, especially if you can control the narrative. And Disney knows how to control narratives. By the time the full film drops, they'll already be pushing a new project, a fresh face, a new campaign, and Rachel, she'll be yesterday's news, unless she fights back.
A video of herself in a theater. Maybe I think she bought that ticket right there. Please enjoy.
According to sources close to her camp, Rachel Zegler isn't taking this quietly. Internally, there are whispers that her team is preparing a carefully managed press appearance, a sit-down interview to clarify what really went down, a long-form statement, or a podcast discussion that puts the blame back where it belongs. They allegedly know this film is unsalvageable. So now it's about separating her image from the disaster, because if she stays silent, she'll forever be associated with the flop. But if she tells her side, she might finally shift the spotlight, not to save the film, but to save herself.
Look at this. Look at his face. What can be said about this level of narcissism here.
This isn't the first time a young actress was blamed for a studio's bad decisions, and it won't be the last. But the public is smarter now. They've seen what happens when corporations pick a scapegoat, let them take the fall, and move on like nothing happened. And Rachel's story is starting to look like exactly that. She got blamed for a vision she didn't control, mocked for marketing lines she didn't write, and left to promote a movie that now barely resembles the one she filmed. It's giving corporate betrayal. It's giving sacrifice the lead to protect the brand. And slowly, audiences are starting to turn that criticism back on the studio.
Cheering for herself.
Let's be clear, Disney thought they could bury this movie, release it quietly, take the loss, replace the face, and move on like it never happened. But instead, they've reignited a conversation that's bigger than Snow White. This isn't just about a bad film. This is about how studios treat talent when things fall apart. And Rachel Zegler, she's allegedly on the edge of flipping from face of the flop to the girl who called it out first. And if she plays her next move, right, she might walk away with something more powerful than a role, a reclaimed legacy.
When people watched it originally in 1937 in the theaters, it was an amazing experience because for most people, it was the first color movie. But second of all, people had so connected emotionally with the character of Snow White that when she eats from the apple and she dies, people were literally weeping in the theater because they liked the character of Snow White so much.
After months of memes, drags, and viral hate, something has changed. People are starting to question how this all played out. They're revisiting her interviews, noticing the studio's silence, comparing early leaks to the final footage, and more, the comments are shifting from "Rachel ruined this movie" to "Wait, did Disney ruin her?" The same platforms that mocked her are now posting breakdowns titled "Rachel Zegler was set up Disney's real Snow White problem, how the studio let her take the fall." And let's be real, once the public starts sniffing out a pattern, the villain edit doesn't stick for long.
You don't particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely when it got announced.
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
Here's the thing, Rachel hasn't fully spoken yet. No sit-down interview, no tell-all, no long-form video or written statement, just silence. And that silence is starting to feel intentional, because once the movie officially drops and the box office flops, she'll be in the perfect position to reclaim the narrative with one powerful statement. Not defensive, not angry, just honest. She doesn't need to bash the studio. She just needs to tell the truth about what changed, about what she was told the film would be, about how it felt to watch her performance be sliced apart and then get blamed for it. And if she does, the public won't just sympathize, they'll rally, because everyone loves a comeback, especially when the fall was never their fault to begin with.
That she is. And by the way, the producer of Snow White, his son, knows it.
Usually, when a Disney project fails, they bury it in the vault and distract us with a new headline. But this time, the distraction isn't working. The reboot backlash, the footage disaster, the rumors of internal chaos, and Rachel allegedly breaking down, pulling back, and preparing to speak. It's too loud, and the more they stay silent, the more it looks like they don't have a defense. Because if they really believed in this film, they'd be out here promoting it. If they really stood by Rachel, they'd be protecting her, but they're not. And the silence is starting to say more than a statement ever could.
There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
So here's where we leave it. Rachel Zegler might never wear the Disney crown again. She might not get the sequels, the merch deals, or the parks rollout, but if she tells her story, and tells it right, she might get something way more powerful, respect, understanding, and a shot at rebuilding her career on her own terms, not as a studio product, but as a woman who survived one of the most public PR disasters in modern film because they thought she'd stay quiet. They thought she'd disappear. They thought she'd take the blame and fade away, but instead, she's still standing. And the internet is finally ready to listen. So what do you think? Was Rachel Zegler the problem, or just the latest victim of a studio that gambled big, failed hard, and needed someone to blame? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like this video, subscribe for more celebrity chaos, and hit the bell so you never miss the next time a fairy tale turns into a PR firestorm, because in this kingdom, Not every princess gets a happy ending, but some walk away with something better: the truth.